The economic landscape of Lagos, the epicenter of coronavirus in Nigeria, came alive with intensity soon after the total lockdown was revised by the federal government towards the strategic reopening of designated sectors. This caused a surge in movement of humans and vehicles, and among other after effects is a string of complications in the delivery of essential goods, including petroleum products. For tanker drivers in particular, their challenges quadrupled, ranging from allegations of extortion by security agents, difficulty in navigating the various outlets due to the crowded nature of the Apapa access by trucks, as well as frequent harassment by miscreants referred to as area boys. It was to counter these bottlenecks that the body to which these drivers belong, the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, issued a statement on Friday, the 7th of August, calling on its members to stand down from midnight Sunday until the state government wades into the situation. However, the strike has been called off as NUPENG reportedly reached an agreement with the Lagos state government. Going forward, what new terms and conditions govern the operations of the NUPENG members, and will the agreement sail smoothly without hiccups from external parties? These are among topical points in view on Panorama today, coming to you live from the NTA Lagos Network Center. I am Dotun Ogmiemi. Welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari has given strong assurances that the desired security and stability will be restored to the northeast sub-region and other parts of the country bedeviled by acts of crime and criminality. This follows the adoption of new strategies as well as the acquisition of state-of-the-art military hardware towards reinvigorating the fight against terrorists and other criminal elements undermining national security. This was at a crucial meeting with the Northeast Governors Forum held at the State House, from where Adamu Sambo reports.
Members of the Northeast Governors Forum, led by Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State, were in the State House to formally appreciate President Muhammadu Buhari for the steps taken so far in the fight against insecurity and compare notes on the best way forward following renewed hostilities in parts of the sub-region.
The government of the region has commended the efforts of the federal government in taking a bold step with a view to securing the region. And I think security is not only about federal government, there's need for the federal government as well as the states and the local government to come together with a view to providing solutions that will end this crisis in the region.
At the interactive meeting, also attended by Vice President Yemi Oshibaju, Ministers of Defense and Police Affairs, National Security Advisor, Service Chiefs, and the Inspector General of Police, as well as heads of other security agencies, the Northeast Governors Forum made these suggestions.
There is a need for the Nigerian government to address the root causes of the insurgency, which are not limited to endemic poverty, hunger, among others. People need to go back to their farmlands. People need to be resettled in their original homes so that they can start their means of livelihood. This is one of the reasons why insurgents are recruiting more into the sects. We also recommended that police should be empowered with a view to bridging the manpower gap that we are having in the Nigerian military.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who empathized with the people of the Northeast, especially Borno State, reassured them that things will improve very soon.
I assure you, Northeast governors, especially the governor of Borno, that we go to bed and we wake up thinking about you and how to secure our country, because that is the fundamental responsibility of our government, security. And our party, we recognize this, we campaign on the three fundamental issues: security, economy, and fighting corruption. Nigerians, we thank God, understood us and they voted us in. The general report I'm getting, other than the conventional one from the intelligence sources, is that the army should do better. And this is the truth. And we'll continue to do our best.
President Buhari said despite the limited resources occasioned by COVID-19, his administration will leave nothing to chance in its genuine efforts at achieving a safer and secured environment for the good of all. Already, he explained, modern equipment have been acquired and much more still to come towards empowering the armed forces in the task of protecting the nation's integrity. He therefore called for more patience, understanding, and cooperation from the citizenry, especially in the sharing of intelligence. The Secretary to the Governor of the Federation, the Chief of Staff to the President, the National Security Advisor, and all the service chiefs who spoke in support of the President were emphatic that normalcy will soon be restored. Apart from the challenges of security, the meeting also discussed issues relating to decaying infrastructure, especially roads, oil exploration and exploitation in the sub-region, as well as ways and means of enhancing the river basin development authorities for economic benefits. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the instrument of accession of the agreement for the establishment of the African Trade Insurance Agency. The agency and the agreement are registered with the Secretariat of the United Nations in line with the Charter of the United Nations. Kenneth Nanim has details.
Lack of adequate political, non-commercial and commercial risk insurance is said to be an impediment to the availability of finance for investments in Africa and the expansion of Africa trade and intra-Africa trade. The African Trade Insurance Agency, when executed, will therefore acknowledge previous multilateral efforts made by African states towards regional economic integration through cooperation in trade. Recalling the economic objectives and aims of the African Union, there are several African treaties on regional economic integration, including the treaty establishing the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, the treaty establishing the Southern African Development Community, and the treaty establishing the Economic Community of West African States. A memorandum from the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Abubakar Malami, stated that the request for the President's signature on the agreement was equal to the directive of the Federal Executive Council that the instrument be prepared and forwarded for execution. The ratification, therefore, was adopted at the Grand Bay in the Republic of Mauritius on the 18th day of May 2000. The objective and purpose of the agency is to provide, facilitate, encourage, and develop the provision of or the support for insurance, including co-insurance and reinsurance, guarantees and other financial instruments and services for purposes of trade, investment, and other productive activities in African states in supplement to those that may be offered by the public or private sector or in cooperation with the public or the private sector.
The Lagos State Government and National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers have arrived at a compromise putting on hold the proposed strike by the union over certain agitations by tanker drivers. Lynn Leneke has details.
The strike by tanker drivers was called off after the grievances presented to the Lagos State government by NUPENG were deliberated upon, resulting in the issuance of a communique signed by representatives of both parties. The compromise addressed the manifold of problems affecting the operations of tanker drivers in Lagos in recent times. The leadership of the state, among other things, promised to tackle the menace of area boys who outrightly ambush tanker drivers, extorting illegal fees for baseless reasons. The state government also assured the tanker drivers that allegations of payment of multiple levies to security agents will be investigated with a view to eradicating the practice. Following the agreement, petrol tanker drivers have proceeded with other regular operations with a certainty that normalcy will prevail. In Lagos, Lynn Leneke, NTA News.
In the light of that report, we shall now be talking to the chairman, Lagos Zone of the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Tayo Abuja. He joins us now live via Zoom. Many thanks for joining us on Panorama. Now, we learned that the agreements, some agreements have been reached and the strike has been called off. Was the strike called off or has it been suspended?
Well, we met over 6 hours yesterday with the representatives of the state government, and we reached an agreement on almost all our demands or requests, and therefore the leadership of the union find it very important to call off the strike.
So the strike has been called off, and tanker drivers are now back on the roads.
Yes, but mind you, the only we have issue with only Lagos state government. So other states were working even yesterday, but today, if the Lagos state tanker driver too, or the tanker in Lagos have resumed, the tanker driver have resumed lifting products.
All right. Now, what were some of those issues that led the union to take the action in the first place?
Please come again. I can't hear you.
What were some of those issues that led the union to take the action in the first place?
All right. One of the issues of containerized truck, giving the tanker that don't allow tanker to access the transfer. So the state government said they are going to work on it, look into the modalities of that's on ground now, and see how they can place tanker drivers on timing. I mean, the time the tankers will be coming on the road.
Okay.
Maybe that we have easy access to the depot. Okay. Another thing on the issue of area boys, the CP has promised to work on it immediately. And then the issue of bad road, government also promised that immediately they begin to do the most of the area, the spots we discover, and every other thing that we settled.
And have those issues been resolved as reached and at the agreements that were reached yesterday conclusively? Can you hear me, comrade?
All the requests and all the
Go ahead. We seem to have lost signal with the Lagos State Chairman of the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Worker, Tayo Abuja. But he's been giving us some updates on the situation currently. And you're still watching Panorama, coming to you from the Lagos Network Center. Let's now take a break. Glad to have you back. The latest statistics provided by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control reveals that 290 new cases of coronavirus have been recorded in the country as at the 10th of August, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 46,867. The new cases were recorded in 15 states and the FCT. The breakdown shows that Lagos recorded the daily highest with 82, followed by Plateau also with 82, Oyo has 19, the FCT 18, Edo 16, Kaduna 15, Enugu and Ogun 9 each. Kano and Kwara have 8 each, while Cross River, Ondo and River State have 5 cases each. Ekiti and Imo, Ekiti 4, Imo has 3, and Borno has 2. The total number of patients discharged so far stands at 33,346, and sadly, 950 deaths have been recorded. Nigeria is yet to reach the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the recent decline in confirmed cases should not be used as an excuse for irresponsible behavior and actions. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, gave this warning at Monday's briefing in Abuja. Mitari Ikben reports.
Nigeria's COVID-19 positivity rate is put at about 15% of more than 300,000 samples tested so far. Despite the modest effort in managing the pandemic, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 draws attention to the fact that Nigeria is also sadly approaching the mark of 1,000 fatalities.
I believe that if we ramp up the tests, if the subnationals deploy resources, deploy manpower, collect samples, search, detect, test, and take into isolation and provide care, we will see much bigger figures. For one test that we have confirmed, the likelihood is that 7 would have escaped. So to give you a very good picture of the figures we are talking about, multiply what we have today by 7 of the rates of infections that have probably spread all over this number of local governments.
Our focus is still to reduce fatality to less than 1%, not only with preventive measures, but also with a strategy that encourages citizens to report early for treatment and for hospitals to attend to all patients in distress.
For those who continue to deny the existence of COVID, I would say that close to 20 million people cannot be wrong. We have about 730 deaths worldwide.
Ahead of the WAEC examinations, the Minister of Environment assures parents and students of safe, decontaminated centers.
Also, there will be a daily decontamination of the examination halls. As to whether we have decontaminated private schools, no, we haven't. We told them to decontaminate and disinfect their schools. The guideline is that they must use licensed environmental health officers, and they are all across the country. Until you do that, we will not certify your school as being decontaminated and disinfected.
The PTF notes that community transmission of COVID-19 is still on and urges Nigerians to take responsibility and stick to wearing a mask to prevent infection, especially from asymptomatic cases. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
The incessant cases of road traffic crashes caused by trucks and trailers have drawn the attention of traffic management authorities. This time, the Federal Road Safety Corps Zone 2 Command, in collaboration with other relevant agencies, has flagged off its latest strategy, Operation Scorpion, to curb the menace in Lagos.
Some of the major causes of road traffic crashes identified by the Federal Road Safety Corps include unlatched containers, overspeeding, disregard for road signs, among other causes. In tackling this menace that is claiming lives across Nigeria and incapacitating many, the Federal Road Safety Corps Zone 2 is reinforcing its commitment to ensuring safety of lives on roads within its jurisdiction. During the enforcement drive, over 30 trucks were impounded. This trailer driver is among those arrested for knocking down a road user and personnel of the Federal Road Safety Corps who was on duty. The victims have been taken to the nearest hospital for treatment. The leadership of the Federal Road Safety Corps says it will not relent until sanity is restored on roads across the country. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
And to judicial matters, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reinstated Advanced Congress of Democrats, Progressive People's Alliance, and 20 other political parties deregistered by the Independent National Electoral Commission. In a unanimous decision, the court declared as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void the judgment of the Federal High Court upholding the Independent National Electoral Commission's action deregistering the political parties. The four-man panel, led by Justice Shodipe Lokulo, held that the deregistration was illegal, having failed to follow due process. The court also held that INEC's action were not in compliance with Section 225A of the 1999 Constitution as amended, as they did not indicate reasons for the deregistration of the political parties. INEC had claimed that the deregistered parties breached their requirements for registration as they failed to win at least 25% of votes cast in one of the states of the Federation during the presidential election. And meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is in receipt of the judgment of the Court of Appeal delivered this Monday, August 10, 2020, in an appeal filed by ACD and 22 others relating to their deregistration by the Commission. In the judgment, the Court of Appeal held that the deregistration of ACD and 22 others in ultra-vires the powers of the Commission and orders the Commission to reinstate them. A statement by INEC National Commissioner for Information, Festus Okoye, indicates that the Commission recalls that on July 29, 2020, the Court of Appeal in Abuja Judicial Division, in an appeal filed by the National Unity Party, affirmed the power of the Commission, INEC, to deregister political parties that fail to meet the constitutional threshold in Section 225A. Dissatisfied with the judgment, the National Unity Party lodged an appeal, which is presently pending before the Supreme Court. The Commission is therefore faced with two conflicting judgments from the Court of Appeal. One, affirming the powers of the Commission to deregister political parties, and the other setting aside the deregistration of ACD and 22 others. Faced with two conflicting judgments from the same court, the Commission is not in position to pick and choose which one of them to obey. Consequently, the Commission will approach the Supreme Court for a final resolution of the issues raised in the two conflicting judgments. The statement adds that the Commission is focused on preparations for the conduct of the Edo and Ondo governorship elections scheduled to hold on September 19, 2020 and October 10, 2020, and is strictly following its timetable and schedule of activities derived from the Constitution and the Electoral Act. Let's now talk sports with Sports Update.
The National Coordinator of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sani Aliyu, said the federal government approved use of recreational parks for supervised physical exercise only, while some selected outdoor non-contact sports are also approved.
This includes lawn tennis, table tennis, squash, badminton, and other non-contact outdoor communal activities. In the event that people are not certain, please contact the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports for further guidance.
And we believe very soon normal activities in all sporting activities will commence. More especially as we are having the Olympic qualifiers that will also soon start. We are very, very grateful to the federal government.
We are putting in place some of the COVID-19 sport code and protocol so that we will resume our remaining program of activities of the year 2020.
This will enable our athletes train for the National Sports Festival and also the very, very important Olympic Games.
And as activities are gradually returning to sports sector, especially in Africa, the Nigerian Football Supporters Club has promised not to relent in its role of promoting unity in diversity in Nigeria and the world at large.
This is what they appreciate all around the world. Go to all the countries of the world. All other members of their